They called him the gentle fisherman, the man who smiled at everyone, who prayed before every catch, who never missed Sunday service. But no one knew that behind that smile lived a killer, a man who fished by day and buried by night. In a small coastal town off the Gulf of Guinea, Peter Abayomi was loved. He gave free fish to children, helped old women carry baskets. People said he had a good heart, but hearts lie, especially when they beat for blood. For 7 years, women vanished. No witnesses, no bodies, just whispers carried by the wind. Until one night, after a heavy storm, the ocean gave up what it had been forced to keep. A young woman's body washed ashore, tangled in fishing nets. No ID, no name. But Detective Rina Kalu saw something strange. A red nylon thread tied neatly around the victim's wrist. Not something any local fisherman used. She followed the clue, and it led her straight to Peter. When Rina questioned him, he laughed, said it was part of his lucky fishing charm, invited her to his boat, offered to show her how he made his nets. But when she stepped aboard, something felt wrong. The boat was spotless, too clean, like someone had scrubbed away secrets. Then she saw it, a small lock of hair tied with red thread hidden beneath a floorboard. That's when Rina realized Peter didn't fish for food. He fished for souls. He picked his victims carefully. Tourists, market women, anyone who wouldn't be missed. His ritual was always the same. He'd offer a sunset fishing trip. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, his catch was already sinking, weighted by stones, buried by waves. But the sea keeps its own justice. Another storm, another night. 3 more bodies surfaced, each with red thread around their wrists. One had a faint carving in her palm, Mercy Tide, the name of Peter's boat. That was all Detective Rina Kalu needed. She set a trap. She went undercover, pretended to be a journalist doing a story on local fishermen's superstitions. Peter took the bait, invited her for a trip at sunset. The waves calm, the air still. He told her how the sea feeds those who respect her and swallows those who lie. She smiled, played along. What he didn't know, Rina had a tracker in her jacket. The Coast Guard was watching every move. But Peter wasn't as dumb as he looked. Halfway through the trip, he changed direction. "Better view," he said. They drifted into open water. The horizon swallowed the sun, and that's when his voice changed, low, cold. "You know, the sea takes everything, but she keeps her promises." He dropped his fishing rod, picked up a rope. Rina reached for her badge, but he moved faster. The rope tightened around her wrists. "Don't struggle," he whispered. "The water's gentle tonight." He pulled her toward the edge, ready to throw her in. Then, static. His radio crackled. "Mercy Tide, this is Coast Patrol. Do you copy?" He froze, then smirked. "You think they'll find you before the sea does?" What he didn't know, Rina had planted a second tracker, hidden in her necklace. Within minutes, searchlights cut through the fog. Sirens echoed. Peter tried to escape. Rina fought back. She slammed her foot into his chest, grabbed the anchor rope, and when he lunged, she swung it around his neck. One pull, one gasp, Then silence. He fell backward into the water, dragged down by his own net. For days divers searched. No body, just his boat drifting, empty, and carved into the wood a message: the sea keeps her promises. The town tried to forget, but fishermen whispered of footsteps on their boats at night, the sound of rope tightening, red threads floating in the tide. Rina got promoted, but something kept her awake. 2 months later, she found the same words carved into her car door: the sea keeps her promises. No fingerprints, no camera footage, just salt residue smeared across the handle. Then came the letter. No return address, just 3 words written in red ink: I never drowned. Inside was a lock of her own hair, tied in red thread. Now, every night, she parks by the dock, staring at the waves, waiting. Because if Peter Abayomi is still alive, he knows her face, her family, her weakness. And sometimes when the sea is quiet, she swears she can hear him whisper, "Detective, it's your turn to swim." It had been 73 days since Detective Rina Kalu received the letter, the one with her own hair tied in red thread. Since then, sleep became a stranger. Every sound of rushing water felt like a warning. Every whisper of wind carried his name, Peter Abayomi, the man she drowned, the man who never drowned. But Rina wasn't one to scare easily. She was a detective, a hunter. So if Peter had truly escaped death, she would find him before he found her. The investigation reopened quietly. The official report still said presumed dead, but Rina started digging through shipping logs, dock records, and missing fisherman reports. That's when she found something strange. 2 weeks after Peter's supposed death, a small fishing vessel had been stolen from a nearby village. The thief's description? Tall man, limping, spoke softly, smelled like bleach. Her pulse quickened. Peter. But one more thing stood out. The thief didn't steal food, fuel, or money. He stole nets. Dozens of red nylon nets, the same kind he used to tie his victims. She followed the trail to an abandoned fish processing plant near the mangroves, closed for years but still reeking of salt and decay. She went alone, no backup, no radio, just her gun, flashlight, and a storm rolling in. The floorboards creaked beneath her boots. Seagulls screamed overhead. The air was thick, heavy with rot. Then she saw it, rows of fishing hooks hanging from the ceiling, swaying like pendulums. And on one of them, a necklace. Her necklace, the one with the hidden tracker. Her heart froze. He'd been here. He'd planned this. She turned slowly. That's when the lights flickered on. "Welcome back, Detective." Peter's voice echoed from the shadows, calm, almost playful. He stepped out from behind a pillar, drenched, beard longer, eyes hollow but alive. "He drew me to the sea," he said softly. "But she didn't want me. She sent me back." Rina raised her gun. "It's over, Peter. You're surrounded." He smiled. "You came alone. You always come alone." A sound came from behind her, boots on metal. Then another voice, a woman's voice. "Put the gun down, Rina."
Rina turned, and what she saw shattered her. Standing behind Peter was Inspector Ngozi Adiyanran, her superior officer. Ngozi, the woman who assigned her the case, who told her to drop it when the file was closed, who signed the presumed dead report. Now she stood side by side with a killer. "Why?" she whispered. Ngozi sighed. "Because the ocean feeds us all, Rina. You think Peter worked alone. You think those bodies were his idea?" Peter chuckled. "I'm just the fisherman, detective. She's the one who taught me how to choose the bait." Ngozi's eyes were cold.
You were getting too close. You were never meant to find him, but you couldn't stop digging. Rina clenched her jaw. "You kill innocent women and call it feeding the sea?" Ngozi shook her head. "Not women, witnesses, liabilities. The sea keeps our sins quiet." Peter stepped closer, rope in hand. "It's poetic, isn't it? The tide takes you just like it took them." Rina backed toward the exit, gun still raised. "You're not the tide, Peter. You're a mistake the sea's about to fix." Then, boom! The storm hit. Lightning flashed through the shattered windows. Rain poured inside. The sound of thunder masked the tension until one moment changed everything. Peter lunged. Rina fired once, twice. He fell. But behind him, Ngozi fired back. The bullet grazed Rina's arm. She dropped to her knees, bleeding, the flashlight spinning across the floor. The beam landed on a row of water drums, and what spilled out from one of them made her stomach turn. A body, wrapped in red thread. Another victim. Ngozi raised her gun again. "You should have stayed quiet." But Rina wasn't done. She kicked the flashlight into a puddle, creating a blinding flash as it hit a live wire. Sparks exploded. The old generator caught fire. Flames roared through the warehouse. Ngozi screamed. Peter groaned, trying to crawl away. Rina pulled herself up, coughing through smoke. She grabbed a harpoon gun from the wall. "Justice," she said through gritted teeth, "doesn't drown." She fired. The harpoon hit Ngozi square in the chest, throwing her back into the burning wall. Peter reached for her hand, but the floor collapsed beneath him. And for the second time, the sea claimed him. By sunrise, the plant was gone. Charred ruins smoldered on the coastline. Divers later found Ngozi's badge melted into the concrete. Peter's body never surfaced again. But this time, Rina didn't wait for him to come back. She knew some monsters never die, they just change tides. Weeks later, Rina submitted her resignation, moved inland, far from the ocean. But on her last night by the shore, she stood at the water's edge. The waves were calm, the air still. She tossed her badge into the sea, whispered, "The sea keeps her promises." Then she turned to leave. But behind her, a red thread washed onto the sand. They say the sea forgives nothing. It remembers every crime, every name, every scream that drowns beneath its surface. Peter Abayomi was gone. Inspector Ngozi was gone. But the ocean was still whispering. Because evil doesn't die in the deep. It waits, it watches, and sometimes it comes back with the tide.